We're fastly approaching the furious ending to the Fast and the Furious saga, which means two things. You'll never have to hear puns like that again, and this penultimate, or penultimate entry to the Fast and Furious has callbacks coming fast. Alright, let's just get into it. Spoilers, by the way. At one point, somewhere in the heady ether of the 21st century, there was this notion of making a movie to capitalize on the import tuner street racing craze. A little bit of Control-C, Control-V action on the basic plot of Point Break, and you have the movie that had people pronouncing Nitrous as NOS.
I need NOS. I need NOS.
In those halcyon days before the family became international white hat heist specialists, undercover federal agent Brian set about earning the trust of one Dominic Torretto by entering his Eclipse in a 4-way drag race. Drag races are usually a heads-up affair, especially with pink slips on the line, but 4 gives you that dramatic give and take that would otherwise be missing in a race taking just under 10 seconds long. Racing is now more of a side note to the series, but in a nod to the original when Dante and Dominic meet for the first time face to face, they end up participating in a 4-way race, this time with members of Dom's extended family put in peril. It's no secret that most of Fast X is a direct consequence of the entry that changed the focus of the series from car culture to mega heists, Fast 5. That means that the crew eventually returned to Brazil, including the bridge where the vault-swinging climax took place. When in Brazil, though, you have to visit the massive ongoing rave, car show, and race venue that Dom had set up while ducking out in Brazil and avoiding the diplomatic security service's top agent, Agent Hobbs. The party and its organizer make a return. Dom and Brian met the organizer in Fast 5 and raced him for his blue Porsche 911 GT3 RS. He appears to be loyal to the brand as he's sporting a green 911 GT RS in this movie. He's also used his local leverage to protect Dom from Agent Hobbs and the DSS. When Hobbs told Dom he was under arrest, Dom told Hobbs that this is Brazil, and all the street racers pulled their own guns on Hobbs and the DSS team, convincing them to back down. This played out again when Dante showed up, but this time half the crowd was on Dante's side. You know, from all the threats and blackmail. To say that a lot of the early entries in the series focused heavily on the ins and outs of using nitrous or NOS in cars would be an understatement. Brian blows his nitrous shot too early and cooks his engine in a 4-way race. Jesse hits his too early during race wars and loses his dad's Jetta. It's a whole thing. When the tailpipe starts spitting blue flame, you know that the car means business. Or it's running way too rich and unexpended fuel is burning in the exhaust. People don't come to this series for advice on tuning though. One of the signature elements from the first entry was the graphic depiction of nitrous entering the fuel stream and turning up the wick, so to speak. That returned in the 4-way race as Dante hit his nitrous boost. Nice little visual nod. Imagine the Fast and the Furious is the story of a piece of jewelry, namely a silver cross necklace, perhaps the most important object in the entire series. It starts off on Dom's neck in the series, who then gives it to Letty when he takes off to take the heat off of the team. Dom finds the necklace hanging from Letty's car, supposedly confirming her death, except she wasn't dead because, you know. Dom has to make a quick escape when the DSS and Reyes' men descend on them. The incorruptible police officer, who is also Hobbs' translator, Elena, decide that it's a good souvenir and takes it, only to have Torretto come back and retake the $20 worth of silver because it's worth it. Dom later tries to use it to jog the memories of an amnesiastic but totally not dead Letty, but Letty gives the cross to Owen Shaw because it doesn't work. Owen Shaw's brother Deckard leaves the necklace at the crash site that supposedly killed Han to take credit for the death that also didn't stick. Maybe the cross is magic. Dom would later hide a tracking device in the necklace before giving it to Elena and Dom's son so that Deckard Shaw can find and rescue his boy. Too late for Elena though, so the cross's powers are seemingly limited. The cross once again shows up in its role as the Covenant Maker in Fast X. Jacob takes Little B on the run, introducing him to the wonders of Fox body Mustangs and being seen before being unseen. Part of his elaborate plan involves getting on a plane conventionally and leaving it very unconventionally. To do this, he needs the assistance of the flight crew. During drink service, Jacob gets 3 vodka bottles as the drinks he ordered and winks at Little B about his friends in high places. That friend, or in this case the flight attendant, Paul Walker's daughter, Meadow Walker. This isn't the first time that a member of the Walker family has appeared in these movies. Walker's brothers, Cody and Caleb, donated FaceTime to Weta to help finish Walker's scenes in Fast 7, after the actor's tragic death. So it's good to see another one of Walker's family make an appearance here. Way back when, there was a time that Vin Diesel didn't feel like being in a franchise about street racing and car chase hijinks. The star bowed out of the second entry only to return in a cameo in the otherwise standalone third. Intended to replace Dom as Brian's ethically more flexible criminal sidekick was the fast and smooth-talking Roman, played by Tyrese Gibson. While he nominally ends up doing the right thing at the end of Too Fast, Too Furious, he had stated earlier that he never leaves a job with empty pockets. And at the end of Too Fast, Too Furious, his pockets weren't empty. That policy saved the day when Dante drained the crew's bank accounts while on the run, as Roman had stuffed his pockets full of emergency cash. Going back to that semi-wholesome beginning, the Charger that has been essentially the flagship for the series was introduced as once belonging to Dom's father. The fully blown Hemi Charger, we're told, scared young Dom with how much power it had. Even now in his adult street racing days, he was sporting a modded out RX-7 instead of the wheel-standing beast. In the opening of Fast X, we got to see that Little B is starting early with his driving lessons, and he's doing it in that Charger. While Dom is trying to teach him about failure and overcoming fear and learning, Little B says that his dad isn't afraid of anything, while behind the wheel of the car that once scared him too much to drive it. You know when a series is about to wrap up because it's calling back to everything that's ever happened ever. The God's Eye chip that was central to the 7th film enters as first Tess uses it to find Letty, and then Dante uses it to find the crew. Little B's mom, Elena, doesn't get to come back from the dead, but instead she gets a sister who carries on Elena's memory, partially by racing up in a hopped-up car, because naturally. The submarine that was stolen in Fate of the Furious shows up with the entirely not dead Gisele in it. Are they saving the Ares project and Nightshade for the second half? Stay tuned. Marvel not only created the impression that its franchise are nothing for the big-ticket movie fare, but it's also shaped how that was going to look. One of the primary tools of a franchise or shared universe has been the post-credit scene that allowed the rest of the movie to be, by and large, standalone, with a tag in the middle or end or both that ties into a larger story. If that large root beer was weighing on your bladder and you skipped over the Fast 9 credits, you got another chance. The scene involving Deckard Shaw working over a punching bag and then opening the door to find a totally alive Han. What was missing in Fast X, however, was the part in Fast 9 where we find out that there's a dude in the punching bag that Shaw was getting plans of some kind for. That's the guy who unzips out of the bag and makes a break for it at the end of the fight. Brian's first Eclipse might have become an iconic symbol for the series, but Roman's Eclipse has not shared the same love. The neon-colored, splash-graphic festooned car is maybe one of the most ridiculed ones in the series. For some reason, the producers wanted the car for a broader appeal, as the Fast and Furious car guru Craig Lieberman had been filling up the second entry with JDM cars popular in the tuner crowd. It wasn't even a manual. Tyrese just kept moving the selector back and forth to mind-shifting gears. Despite its despised reputation, it does appear in a montage of shots detailing Dom and the family's life. It'd be a moment Dom doesn't recognize though, as his character wasn't in that movie. While the series has turned the heist angle all the way up, it hasn't abandoned racing altogether. Part of that was an apparent last-minute decision to add some NASCAR swag to the proceedings. This involved talks over how to include the American Stock Car Racing series when they landed on a t-shirt Little B gets with his uncle from a gas station while on the run. The t-shirt was selected the day before, leaving NASCAR to scramble to ship one to the location. There was another easy-to-miss nod thrown in on purpose. Fast X director Louis Leterrier had been brought in a week into shooting after longtime series director Justin Lin walked away over creative differences with star Vin Diesel. One of the first things he looked at was Fast 9's journey to space, joking that the only way to top that would be time travel. In a nod to that suggestion, he said about trying to get a Delorean in the movie. The Delorean name is a bit contentious, but he was able to get an Alpha 5 prototype from the company, a proposed modern electric version of the iconic car we saw in Back to the Future.
Are you telling me that you built a time machine out of a DeLorean?
The director wasn't the only one advocating for a specific vehicle. Dante actor Jason Mamoa is a big Harley fan, so when he inquired about what motorcycle his character would be riding, he had notes. He went so far as to call Harley Davidson directly, who sent 6 Harleys that were then part swapped and customized until we got the one that Dante rides in the movie. So while not technically 100% custom, it's pretty close. Lettier wasn't able to slot into the already underway production of the film right away, which left everything in a slight bit of limbo. This apparently didn't slow Charlize Theron and Michelle Rodriguez down though. They had been exhaustively rehearsing their fight scene and just went ahead and filmed it with the second unit director, while the movie had no proper director. Having a second unit director handle particular action scenes isn't unusual, but there usually is a director at least working on the film when that happens. Kinda hard to be a second unit director when there isn't really a first unit director. There's a lot of superheroes in the Fast and Furious franchise. Diesel is the voice of Groot, Brie Larson is Captain Marvel, and of course Jason Mamoa plays Aquaman in the slowly closing out DCEU. But he's not the only one to hold the trident in the series. His secret ally, Ames, played by Alan Ritchson, not only played Hawk in the live-action Titans, he also played Aquaman in the Smallville series that almost got a spin-off before that was scrapped in favor of what became known as the Arrowverse. Best possible ending for the series: the Saint Elsewhere Gambit. The entire series has been a depiction of a child's imagination as he plays with his Hot Wheels in his parents' backyard. It might upset some people, but for me, you'd get a standing ovation.